Hello, BookTube. A while ago, Christopher Russell, our little corner of BookTube's own cartoon Hedgehog, just foisted a video, a few book recommendations. And I took it and ran with it because I don't need much in the way of encouragement to recommend books to people. Just random recommendations, just fire recommendations at your face until you cry enough. But you're not crying enough. You're actually liking these videos. And I don't want to encourage that, but nevertheless, there are so many books to talk about that I thought I would show some more books to you. More random hedgehog recommendations without any rhyme or reason to them at all. Who knows what will stick with your fancy and who knows what will not. Some of them I mentioned on this channel before, others I've not. And we'll start with, an oddity, but a lot of these are odd. This is Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar, with a great Neil Adams cover there in which you are looking up Tarzan's bum. This is, I don't know if you can make it out in the background there. It's what makes it an odd cover, is that beautiful woman and all those weird bestial creatures are in the background rather than the foreground. So you've got this creepy wet stone floor and a determined ape man headed towards them. It's not particularly a good cover. Neil Adams is a genius, of course, but this is pretty much all wrong. You don't know who that is unless you know who that is. The dramatic payoff of the whole novel is barely visible in the background. And also, perhaps most offensively of all, Tarzan of the Apes is not a lefty. Okay? Anyway, this is on one level, it's a classic Tarzan novel where he encounters a lost civilization, the brutish descendants of Atlantis, who are ruled over by a beautiful priestess named La. But on another level, on every other level, I think this is the best Tarzan novel of them all. There are lots that followed it. But I believe that this is Tarzan of the Apes is classic. I don't think that Edgar Rice Burroughs really thought that there would be dozens of novels that would follow. I certainly don't think that he thought that Tarzan would take off the way Tarzan did. What author would ever think that? It's given to very few authors when they are writing a cultural touchstone masterpiece to know that's what they're doing. And that's good, because when they do know it, they're extremely insufferable about it. Joe Heller knew that he was writing Catch-22, and it was no one could stand to be in the same room with him because of that. But Edgar Rice Burroughs, I think, when he wrote Tarzan of the Apes, I think he was writing just another potboiler, another pulpy book, another pulpy series that, I got a million of them. And then it suddenly became enormous. And Tarzan of the Apes is an excellent book. But I think that Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar is the best Tarzan adventure. And also, since Tarzan is part of the cultural heritage, you don't need to know the earlier books to read this. And you should. If you don't read any, that silly old critical thing, if you don't read any other Tarzan novels, read this one. Then we have something by Douglas Brinkley. I have my issues with the author, but this is his big fat biography of Walter Cronkite. That is younger Walter Cronkite, before he started going fully gray, before he started wearing those gigantic Coke bottle glasses all the time. And it occurs to me that a great number of you will not have any idea who this is. If you were born in the 21st century, you not only won't know who Walter Cronkite was, but you won't know what he was either. Because what he was even more fascinating than who he was. Although Brinkley does a great job here of who he was. The journalism. For those of you who don't know, Walter Cronkite was a news anchor. He's the one who read the news to you at night. So he didn't necessarily go out and be a journalist. This has all of his journalistic background, and a lot of that is fascinating. But the reason why you would want a book like this at all is because of what he did behind the news desk as a newscaster, as the host of a news show, The News, in a way that is gone beyond any recall in the 21st century. Those of you who did not experience will not have any idea what it was like. We had newspaper in the morning, then you go about your day. You don't have a supercomputer in your pocket. You're not in instantaneous communication with anybody. You can go to a phone booth, put in a dime, call somebody's number and hope you get them, but you don't know where everybody is at every minute. You're not able to get in touch with everybody. You're certainly not able to read the random thoughts of every drug addict in the world on one social media site without any edification to yourself, without any reason to do it. You didn't do anything like that. You read the newspaper in the morning. And then if you were a normal person, you went out about your day. Those of us who were not normal read 3 newspapers in the morning and then read the afternoon editions. But you didn't think about any of that until it was nighttime. You didn't work at night because nobody worked at night. You worked 9 to 5. And then you went home and you fixed your dinner, or somebody fixes it for you, and you watch Cronkite. You have Walter Cronkite tell you about what's going on in the world. Not 20 Walter Cronkites, not ideologically captured Walter Cronkites, not well, he says this, but he could simply be lying. He could simply be lying. He's telling me that the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the president is fully within his rights to brutalize citizens and exile them from the country to torture chambers. If you're watching the news, the newscaster simply says that. It's a flat out lie. You can verifiably document that is a flat out lie. But if you don't watch any other newscasts, you'll never know that. And that is so far seeped into the groundwater now that there's no going back. But that was inconceivable when Cronkite got his desk job and then kept it for decades. That was inconceivable. What Walter Cronkite told you at night was the state of the world during the day and the state of the news events that he and his crew were watching. And he said it in a rich, avuncular voice. And when he was done, he said, and that's the way it was. And he signed off. And that was that. That was that. You weren't going to watch news later in the night. You were going to watch Steve Allen or Jack Parr later in the night. You weren't going to watch news later in the night if you watched anything. And then the next morning you would rinse and repeat. The next morning you would get the morning paper, you would read it. If you're a normal person, you would think about nothing else. And then that night you would listen to Cronkite. It made the cultural zeitgeist. You read novels or comic books or TV shows, and they will just offhandedly make mention of the fact that, what, did you hear that on Cronkite? Well, that's because it was the news. It was just one incredibly trustworthy guy who's telling you about the news of the day. And this book does a good job with both those things, the man and what he was. Then we have something by Michael Schumacher. This is from years ago, but I went to it right away. This is Mighty Fitz. It is the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and that is the Edmund Fitzgerald on the cover there, a weird shape. You can tell right away what danger you might be in if you've got a huge amount of weight up here and a huge amount of weight back here. But this was a giant shipping vessel in the Great Lakes, and this was a history of its... I'm not going to quote from the song at all this time, but this was a history of its launch and its business and its demise, which was made famous in a song by Gordon Lightfoot, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And the reason why I went and the reason why I'm recommending this is because I just recently got a galley copy of a forthcoming new history of The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which I will gobble up. I'm a bit of a nautical fan. I'm not all that much of a nautical fan of freshwater sailing, lakes. And I shouldn't be so dismissive, because when Lake Superior wants to kill you, it can do so every bit as easily as the ocean can. What are you doing? Huh? How are you doing? Want to come down here? Come on down here. No? Come on. There you go. There you go. There you go. I'm not... I am a nautical fan, but I'm not trying to make any claims that I noticed this when it happened. Like everybody else in the country, for a good 10 years, I knew this only from that song, which was absolutely inescapable and is great. And I wanted to recommend this because I liked it, but also I want to reread it in preparation for the new book that's coming out. Then we have, this is W. Mark Ormerod. This is a great big biography. It is a biography of Edward III, England's King Edward III, from whom so much flows. He's not known. People who don't know the English monarchy don't know him at all, and yet people in the history of the English monarchy and the history of England knew him quite well. If you wanted legitimacy, you had to trace it back to this guy. Not to William the Conqueror, but to this guy. He was He was big, and he was hardy, and he was judicious, and he was smart, and he was fair to the extent that he could be. He was a truly great king. And this is a huge biography. It's like 800 pages, and it's wonderful. It's a little bit on the scholarly side. You want to go into the prepared for that. It's a little bit on the scholarly side. So you're going to have to be dedicated to reading about this guy to read this book. And its scholarly apparatus is amazing, just amazing. This is all of Edward. There's no way that a biography of this figure could be better than this. But you'd be in for the long haul. You'd be in for this is serious biography. So if you've never read anything about Edward or his time, maybe you could get by on reading the Wikipedia entry for Edward III and then all the links. Click all the links for major battles and secondary figures in his reign and whatnot. Maybe if you did that and really bore down, paid attention, that might be enough. But you might want to read a shorter biography of Edward III, and there are no longer ones. So any other biography of him will be shorter, but this is the best one. Then we have a novel. This is fantasy. It's a strange thing. I like it. I think it's quite memorable. It's not at all perfect as a novel, but it has one really interesting element to it. This is by Lola Berford, and it's called The Vision of Stephen. And it is a time travel story. But it's a rare time travel story in that the main character, Stephen, is plucked from the 7th century to the 19th century, the early 19th century. It's very rare that you find it's comparatively rare that you find a time travel story where one of the anchor points of the time travel story is not the present day. This is a time travel story from one part of history to another part of history. And it's really, I think, effective. It's a whimsical little thing. I haven't had this paperback. I had this paperback once upon a time. I haven't had this paperback in forever. Never see it. But it's a nice, memorable story. I don't think you'll regret reading. It'll take you an hour to read. I don't think you'll regret it. Then we have, this is John Campbell. This is a book, Cross-Examined, Putting Christianity on Trial. This is a big, comparatively recent book. We've seen it on this channel. We've seen most of these things on this channel. This is a completely comprehensive soup to nuts survey of the arguments of Christianity. It's moral arguments, it's ethical arguments, it's historical arguments, it's factual arguments. It's a complete assessment of all of those claims, all of which are found wanting. The most that Campbell is willing to grant is that Christianity is a major religion created by human beings, the same way as 50 other major religions in the world today and 50,000 in human history. That's pretty much the most he's willing to grant, and all the rest of it, no. And it's all done with a prosecutorial clarity. Just an amazingly good book to read, of course, unless you are a fundamentalist Christian with a fragile faith. If that's true, then you'll want to stay well clear of the book. Then we have a Penguin Classic. I do not own this as a Penguin Classic. I have it as a different kind of book. This is Tadeusz Borowski. This is This Way for the Gas, ladies and gentlemen. A Penguin Classic, an early Holocaust memoir. This author survived Auschwitz and Dachau and comes bearing the stories of what it was like to live there every day, what it was like to live on less than starvation rations, what it was like to live wondering if every hour would be your last. Very, very effective. I don't know what Penguin does in the way of introductory material or anything like that. I've never encountered this book as a Penguin Classic, but I bet it's good. It's very grim, very obviously. It's a very grim, very affecting story. Then we have a big oversized book. This is from Dorian Kindersley, Boston publisher Dorian Kindersley, DK. Those of you who know DK books, especially if you have kids, you'll know that their method of putting together lavishly illustrated books is second to none. The books they make are amazing, just incredible. They team up with the Smithsonian Institute to get the text and the history and whatnot of the stories, the subjects that they do. And this one is their book on natural history. All of natural history. What it is, how we learn it, how theories about it have changed over time. All incredibly illustrated. Oh my God, these DK books are really meant to be kept and savored. They will pull just about anybody into their subject, no matter what the subject is, whether it's war or ships or battlefields or rulers or history or science or astronomy or the ocean, whatever it is. Uh, their book on animals, the DK Guide to Animals, just that, is probably my favorite, but this is right up there, really close. Then we have a little book. This is an older thing, by Thomas Clark, a great historian, a weird, wonderful, gentle, prolific guy, a magnificent thinker. This is his book, The Kentucky, which is about the Kentucky River. This was done originally as part of the Rivers of America series back during World War II, and during the time when authors who very much needed a WPA check could get a check for doing a potted history of a regional river. The Kentucky River flows through both of the faces of Kentucky, both the bluegrass area and also the mountains. And Clark is wonderful. He does a wonderful, wonderful job. He's a great historian, just in general. He's totally forgotten now. I wish I could find a copy of the Kentucky. And I will, because the whole Rivers of America series does show up at my used bookstore from time to time. But in addition to that, he wrote a memoir about his life writing history that I loved. I got it out of the library, and I've never seen it used. I'd love to find anything by this guy. But his book on the Kentucky is wonderful. All these books in the Rivers of America series follow a basic template. There's natural history, there's missioner-esque type details, there's also the local folklore. Any historical events that happened in or around the river, they are usually recounted, usually in very good detail, good, reliable detail. And there's plenty to write about Kentucky. Actually, Thomas Clark was pretty outspoken about the history of Kentucky and how vital it is to the history of the nation. So an older book, the Rivers of America series, is not in print anymore. I don't know why not. It should be. But well worth it if you can find it. Then we have an English language translation. This is a translation by Jane Marie Todd of Anne Marie Eddy's book Saladine, that was reissued as a trade paperback about 15 years ago, something like that. This is the reissued trade paperback with the Gustave Doré engraving on the cover there in bright red. I've read lots of biographies of Saladin, lots of them. Most of them are dude bro things. They just love him. The dude bros that know about him love him, but this one is not. This one is just marvelous. 3-dimensional, very historically aware, a wonderful handling of the source materials in a way that usually the source materials for Saladin are problematic on their own and also extensive. And usually that prompts his biographers to get very boring. And this author does not do that at all. Now, I don't want to encourage Britta Bowler by saying that the reason why this biography is so much better than all the other Saladin biographies is because this was written by a woman. I don't want to encourage her. But nevertheless, it's still a really strong recommendation. But let's get right back to the two bro stuff, okay? This is for a little bit insecure. This is one I've shown you many times before. This is J.C. Beaglehole. This is his enormous 1,000-page biography of Captain James Cook. From Cook's earliest boyhood, when he saw the ships going out to sea and dreamed about it, little knowing that he would become one of the most famous captains in nautical history, all the way to the end of his life, when I don't know what he was thinking, but he got his head bashed in by natives that he thought he could, I guess, talk around or overawe, and everything in between, including this book it's long, it covers every part of his life in great detail. But there's a lot of detail put in here on Cook's almost supernatural nautical abilities, his almost supernatural navigation abilities. I really believe that he's in a class with, well, much maligned, but still it's true, Christopher Columbus, and maybe a handful of other people in terms of seamanship. And Beaglehole's not all that good with swashbuckling. Cook had some swashbuckling moments, quite a few of them. And Beaglehole, I think, is much more of the glasses on the end of his nose type figure, so I doubt he ever swashed a buckle. But so he can be a little bit less exciting than you want him to be when he gets to those part of Cook's life. But this is amazing. No, there have been many Cook biographies. None has ever come close to this as the definitive work. And then we can finish up with another definitive work. This is the great Otto Penzler, the great editor Otto Penzler. If you encounter an anthology of anything at all, and you are told that it is edited by Otto Penzler, get it because it's going to be great. And this is one of his great ones. This is Zombies, Zombies, Zombies. This is his big anthology of canonical and non-canonical zombie literature. He has an amazing facility for finding things, gems, and also an amazing facility, kind of rare in anthologists, you love to see it, of juxtaposing things. Every anthology by Otto Penzler, in addition to showing you gems on the subject that you didn't know existed or didn't remember existed, he'll also show them to you juxtaposed against each other in ways that you never have expected. Largely chronological, but nevertheless, reading an Otto Penzler novel is a journey. It's amazing. An anthology by him is amazing. He is one of the only anthology editors out there where I would strongly suggest that if you find an Otto Penzler anthology, read it like a book. Don't jump around. Start with his introduction. His introductions are always great. And just read them in the order that he selects them to appear. It'll be largely chronological, but you'll really appreciate it that way. And this is all about revenant humans. So what's not to like? So including the table of contents here. I don't know if you can make it out there, but it includes a lot of people you wouldn't automatically associate with zombies. And that's the strong point of Otto Penzler, is that he finds stuff like that. So there you go. I don't know what this video was. No idea. There's 10 or so more random Hedgehog book recommendations. No idea what these videos are. But I'll wrap this up for now. It's quite a few videos for today, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.